Hi, my name is Eric, and in this video I do part 3 of chapter 2 in the Future Israel series. I wrote the original text of this chapter more than 10 years ago, but I've updated it with, for example, the appearance of the Yanukah amongst the Orthodox Jews in Israel. It is titled Rabbi Pearlmutter's Miracle. Our route ran south on parts of what used to be Highway 60, and we soon passed the turnoff towards Masada and Ein Gedi. With its small waterfalls in a narrow canyon, Ein Gedi was the perfect place for David and his gang of rebels to bath and relax while hiding from King Saul. "Have you ever been to Arava?" I asked Dave, knowing that taxi drivers are also trained as tourist guides and that most Israelis share a keen interest in history, believing that we only understand the future by knowing the past. Give me a hint," Dave asked. "It's where Rabbi Simcha Pearlmutter found the miracle waters of creation in the early 1980s, I replied. "Oh, yeah, of course. Who hasn't heard of Rabbi Pearlmutter?" Dave smiled and answered. "It's on Route 92 Island, about 40 miles south from the former Dead Sea." "You're right. It's near Ein Pashach, the last surviving Jewish community before the diaspora," I agreed. "I actually watched some videos of Pearlmutter back at the time I left the Church for Hebrew Roots," Dave added. "He became convinced of evidence that Yeshua was the Messiah, but couldn't submit to Christianity as a religion that was so viciously against Jews and so foreign towards Torah." "You're right. Over the ages, a few hundred rabbis came to the same discovery," I nodded. "The two I knew about were Daniel Zion, or Daniel Zion, who was the chief rabbi of Bulgaria, and Israel Zoli, who was the chief rabbi of Rome during World War II. Christians did not understand how Judaism viewed a small-letter Messiah as that once-in-a-generation leader, especially a spiritual leader that promotes Tikkun Yisrael, the restoration of the nation. Prior to the appearance of the Yanukah, it was the Lubavitcher, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, but his fame soon faded with the appearance of the Torah prodigy Rav Shlomo Yehuda, who was born in 1988. The title Yanukah came from the Zohar and implied a young Torah and Talmud genius. By 2020, Orthodox Jews already rated Shlomo Yehuda on a par with the most famous rabbis since the Middle Ages, such as Rashi, Moses Maimonides, and Israel ben Eliezer, who had the title of Baal Shem Tov. Those days of knowing that the end of the era was upon us, but not knowing how things would unravel, are fortunately now something of a distant and almost forgotten past. We soon enter Issachar's district, a tribe of tradesmen who had an understanding of the times, who knew what to do, as in the days when 200 of their warriors joined David in the desert. "Wow, look at all those fig trees," my wife said, pointing to rows of white branch fig trees covered with the most delicious yellow figs imaginable when ripe. "Israel's figs are so popular, we just can't meet the demand," Dave explained. "Yeah, the popularity of products from the land is massive," I agreed. "The transformation is amazing. Nothing that I saw on TV can describe what we're seeing," my wife exclaimed. "The exception is Edom, south of Yam Chaim." Dave reminded her of the small nature reserve area southeast from the Sea of Life, a volcanic wasteland for perpetuity. The Negev was no longer a desert, thanks to the huge agricultural efforts by Israelis and the fountains that have sprung up as a result of the geological and climatic changes the planet has undergone. Changes that resulted from events just before the Second Advent that had mankind petrified with fear, such as wormwood and the impact of Hareshef, the burning mountain in Hebrew, which in turn triggered the great earthquake, finally silencing the rebellion of the nations, for now at least. While parts of the world are still experiencing the aftermath of the thrashing of Messiah's enemies, the wounds of war and the Holy One's wrath, Israel itself is again a land of milk and honey, as it was when Joshua led ancient Israel into the promised land. Transformation is everywhere in evidence. Nature and all of creation confirms that the Messiah is reigning in this glorious Sabbath millennium. Agriculture is again the major source of self-employment and abundance of grain in the land. Psalm 72, Isaiah 62, Ezekiel 36. At last is fulfilled the ancient promise of Israel's prosperity and world governance, as was prophesied by Moses. There shall be no poor among you, for Jehovah your Elohim blesses you as he promised you, and you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And you shall reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over. There is, of course, a warning that nations not present at the Festival of Tabernacles will be punished with drought, but as yet, no nation has ventured to disobey. Alright, next endnote. Rabbi Simcha Pearlmutter, deceased in 1999. We couldn't determine his date of birth in Chicago. Pearlmutter came to Yeshua independent of missionary effort, as many other Jews and Muslims do. In his book, The Tents of Shem, and videos, he argued that the prayers of the Yom Teruah Seder, such as the Sarah Panim, is all about Yeshua. At least 200 prominent rabbis have over the ages made the same discovery. Number 2. Ancient Edom cursed. Isaiah 34, 5-10 and Psalm 60. Only Edom was mentioned, possibly because of the enmity between Esau and Jacob, which was typical of the enmity between Cain and Abel, going back to the hostility between the serpent to the seed of the woman, Genesis 3. It is thus a type of the perpetual curse on ancient Babylon, the spirit and mysteries of Babylon that date back to Nimrod and the fallen angels, and the core of mankind's rebellion. The perpetual cursed area of Edom is the depression south of the Dead Sea, Deuteronomy 2. Number 3. The Holy Wrath. Future Israel suggests that prophecies regarding God's wrath and major future calamities are not limited to the book of Revelation. Grant Isaiah 24, for example, its full latitude in summarizing successive disasters Israel has suffered. First, when Shalmaneser dispersed ancient Israel, followed by Nebuchadnezzar punishing Judah and Rome's wrath resulting in the diaspora. It also describes the tribulation, the joy of those who have survived, and then deals with the end, when Jehovah of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion in Jerusalem gloriously before his elders. Next week, the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Shalom.